What's up, my hungry Haliazara? This is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and I am on a 24-hour fast, so if I seem a little bit loopy, I do apologize ahead of time. Regardless, today on the Daily Grind, we're going to be taking a look at two more Kuva weapons, the Kuva Seer, as well as the Kuva Ayanga, which I've been calling the Kuva Ayanga this entire time, and nobody stopped me, which, you know what? I praise you for that. Thank you for being so kind to me. Now, if you want to get your hands on any of these new Kuva weapons, you're going to have to do that through the Kuva Lich system. If you are unfamiliar with that, I'll go ahead and leave a link up in the top corner where I can get you a little bit more information. Unfortunately, though, the type of weapon that you get is RNG. As you can see, I'm actually on my third Kuva Cortex so far. Damn you, RNGesus, why have you forsaken me? I still have so many other weapons to get. Regardless, the bonuses are all lined out in another video that I went ahead and did, which I will also link up in the top corner as well as down in the description box below, just in case you need more information. So, kicking things off, we have the Kuva Seer. This variant pistol has a higher fire rate and magazine capacity, superior zoom capabilities, plus projectiles have a small corrosive burst. Now, as you can see, this thing has some major stat boosts. However, there is one downside that is not apparent quite yet. Now, the critical chance has jumped from 5% up to 21%, which is nice and juicy. The critical multiplier has gone from 1.5 times to 1.9. The fire rate has jumped up to 2.5. The magazine has increased up to 9. For those of you who know about the Kuva Seer, you know why I had to make that face there real quick. The reload speed went down from 2.8 down to 2.3, and the status chance has jumped from 13 up to 33%. It's just like nice and hefty. Now, as you can see right there, there has been a slight IPS shift, which is kind of weighing this a little heavier into puncture and away from impact with a little bit more of that slash. In addition, they went ahead and listed the corrosive explosive bonus. So let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. Now, before we even move on, the one stat that they did not list that they should have listed was, of course, the fact that your max ammo is 27 instead of the standard 210 that the original Kuva Seer had. So this thing requires you to pick up ammo on the regular, or else it's just not gonna work. Wait, hold on. I forgot my headset. I told you this fast was fucking me up. Now, as you can see, we have 3 corrupted bombards pulled up, but we have them paused, and that is for a very specific reason. Now, as you can see right here, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot, and it's about a 3-meter distance. The only thing that I will say is it's gotta be just like 3 meters, because this dude is 3 meters away from, well, is 3 meters away, is like, well, 3-ish meters away from this guy, and it's about 3-ish meters away from this guy too. So it's gotta be right at that very, very edge, because it does end up hitting that one. Now, let's see. Oh god, the stagger. So you can see it's hitting those two, but it's not necessarily hitting that guy over there. So it's just right at that 3-meter range. Now, let's go ahead. Let's do a little clean slate real quick and see how this performs. Now, oh wait, I did it again. See, I told you, my brain, it's not working. So let's go ahead and grab him, and let's unpause him so that, you know, he can be free. Oh, I just killed him. Fantastic. I'm gonna leave this in so you can see where my brain is at today. Now, there are a lot of different chats about the way that you should build this, but the way that I'm finding this best built is just like plain corrosive with crits, because as you can see, we can kill one of those 165s in a single clip. And of course, that's got like some armor shred on it, and then the rest is just the critical damage doing its work. Let's take a look at that one more time in action, then let's take a look at the build. So now, moving into this, as you can see, this is actually pretty good for like enemies that are like tightly clumped up. So maybe if you get yourself a little Vobon action, get a little vortex moment in there, it'll be nice for that. And you could almost argue that because of the fact that it does have that explosion, it counts as an explosive weapon. However, I don't feel like the explosion radius is big enough for them to kind of make that excuse when it comes to this weapon's really low ammo size. I'm just saying this is supposed to be like a high tier weapon. Like if we gave it the standard ammo capacity, I would actually rock with this one. Now, as you can see right here, we are going in with a hybrid build. We do have a little bit of corrosive running in there. We have the 2 critical mods as well as an auger pact. Now, here's the thing. I've seen some people do some talking and I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and try this out because they seem like they're very fervently fixed on a specific setup. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to leave Target Cracker in, but I'm going to remove Auger Pact. I'm going to go ahead and swap some elements around, and we're going to put Radiation and Viral on here, because some people, I've been seeing a lot of people lately go, oh, the way to go is to go Viral, and I'm like, are you, or not Viral, but Radiation. I'm like, who told you that? Who was giving you that information? Because it's only appropriate sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So remember, we were able to do this in one clip, and I'm making sure to give this specific setup some headshot clearance. The words escape me, but as you can see, we're like well into 2 clips on that one. Now, what I will say about this, though, is this setup is, if you're looking for a condition overload outlet, because, you know, condition overload got a little bit more front-loaded these days, I'm definitely going to say, like, you know, if you want to tap an enemy with that and then go into some melee, you've got a good amount of statuses on there already, so you can get, like, the full-blown benefit out of it if you really want, if that's where you're going. Because remember, listen, everybody's going to have their own takes on builds. Me, personally, I just want it dead. So for me, if I can get it done, you know, with just the gun on its own, then that's the way that I'm going to go ahead and do it. So personally, I'm going to stick with the crit build rather than, like, you know, the multiple different elements on there. But it is a cool thing to think about if you're running condition overload. Moving along, I finally got my hands on my very first Kuva specific weapon, which just means that there is no base variant to it. It is just the Kuva Ayanga. Sweep aside hordes of enemies with the flaming fury of this powerful automatic grenade launcher. And I do want to underline grenade launcher, mainly because of the fact that its projectile does have a bit of an arc to it. Now, as you can see, this thing does have a nice chunky critical chance sitting at 35%. However, its critical multiplier is only sitting at 2, which isn't necessarily bad, but you know, I prefer to have a little more juice in my caboose, if you know what I'm saying. Now, its status chance sits at 20%, which is pretty good too. However, I do want to note its reload speed. Now, in the Arcwing variant, it's only 1. However, on the Gravimag version, it is 3, which is a bit painful. Now, speaking of pain, the damage is actually compounded between blast and impact. So the impact portion is the grenade actually striking the enemy, and then of course the blast is the explosion in and of itself. So there are 2 different instances of damage that occur, and this does actually play a part when it comes down to modding. But let's go ahead and take a look at how this baby performs. So I'm actually going to go ahead and bring up 8 corrupted bombards, as well as my Ayanga. Wait, Ayanga? Oh my god, am I saying it wrong this entire time still? Oh, I can't do it. Now, as you can see, there is our group of enemies over there, and I'm going to go ahead and fire my first blast. And I'm going to say that's about like an 8-meter damage radius, if not 10. Actually, I want to say that's got to be at least a 10-meter damage radius. It hits them all, but it doesn't necessarily, it forces procs, but the blast part isn't necessarily guaranteed. It looks like we're getting other types of procs on all of these enemies, so that's actually pretty good. So it's got a nice range to it, at least damage-wise. The other thing that I do want to point out with this is, as you can see, we're going to sit at 4 meters right here. There's actually an arming distance. So as you can see, I'm hitting this guy with the grenade, but the explosion isn't going off because of the fact that I'm closer to it than 10 meters, because 10 meters is the arming radius. So see here, if I'm sitting at 8 meters, I'm just hitting that guy. But if I back up a couple meters, boom, there you go. That's where you get the AoE on. So make sure that you're hitting enemies from a distance in order to make this count. However, the radius on this is pretty juicy. And while we're here, let's go ahead and take a look at the Projectile Arc. So as I fire this, you can kind of see that I'm going to keep my reticule over that line. but as you can see, we're hitting considerably lower than that. So when you are firing this a little bit further away, make sure to kind of give yourself a little bit of space when it comes to the actual like flight path of this. Now I'm gonna go ahead and bring up Billy. We're gonna take him off pause, and then let's go ahead and reload. Takes a while, but it's okay. We're here. And let's start to wail in on this enemy. So I'm gonna give it a little bit. There's a little arc that I gotta kind of like work around, and he's kind of shucking and jiving over there because of the fact that he is getting hit with some impact stuff. But as you can see, it does make decent work of that bombard. Now, I'm not saying that this is the most powerful weapon ever. However, if you're kind of considering this with like a group of enemies, I do have to say that, you know, this is pretty nice at clearing them. Maybe just don't go full in. Just give a couple bursts every now and then, because as you can see, it's doing good kind of applying statuses. And like I was saying a little bit earlier, what do you call this? You could, I don't think this actually transitions well into melee because I think it unequips it. So I take that back. Let's just account that to Rob fasting and losing his brain for a second. But yeah, it's pretty good on its own. The only thing about it is, of course, you do need to make sure that you are at least 10 meters away to get both instances of damage on. Because if you get too close, then you're only getting that little grenade impact, which is kind of a bit measly. Now let's go ahead and take a look at modding for this weapon, because I actually did a decent amount of testing to see what felt better. Wrong one. This is the right one. Now, clearly, I'm using this on a, like, you know, a single bombard that's 165. That's not necessarily how you're fighting with a lot of Arcwing guns. A lot of people have actually said that they love this gun for the Profit Taker Orb. And if you want to do that, make sure you go ahead and take out the status, because I'm using status chance elemental mods. Now, as you guys know, well, or maybe don't know, a lot of the elemental mods on the Arcwing guns actually have a 120% elemental boost. Let's see if we can find that. So that's 120% heat. So I had to do a lot of playing around to kind of see exactly what was going to end up working. So that's why I'm saying for this case, the status was right. But when we take a look at taking on, you know, like the Profit Taker Orb, you're going to want to go full elemental on that, because the orb is completely immune to status effects. So this way you can kind of lay in with more damage, and you can do AoE damage. Now, you might even want to go full elemental when it comes down to fighting in Arcwing. The only thing that I will say is I played this in Arcwing, and the projectile flight speed on this, oh, it hurts. It hurts when you're out in space and you got enemies flying all over the place. And because of the fact that, you know, we're working with much longer distances, the projectile flight speed can be a bit bothersome because the explosion only goes off on impact. So I'm saying, since there is no like high-end version of Arcwing quite yet, you might want to stick with pure elemental mods out there. So just change this out for whatever you want. Of course, for the Profit Taker, you're going to want to do radiation and cold. Now, the other thing that I do want to point out is there is a really good mod called Sabot Rounds. And this is 60% base damage. So as you guys know, base damage affects all other damages on top of it. And it's got punch through. The punch through is what kills it for this, because what'll actually happen is this will punch through the enemy. So you'll get the initial kind of like impact from the grenade, but the explosion will happen upon like actual contact. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that works real quick so you guys can get an idea. Of course, this isn't like, you know, the build, but I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a display. Now, if you have terrain that the grenades can explode off of, then that kind of works okay. I've actually noticed when I was firing earlier at a bombard that he was up against the wall and the explosion would hit the wall behind. But as you can see, we're only getting one instance of damage, and I don't know if you can tell, but like the grenade is basically just piercing right through it. So as you can see, the damage we're doing is much less. I wish I could kind of like, hold on, let's see if I can do it this way. Maybe, but it's not arming. Hold on, I need to get it in arming range, because I was able to show it off earlier, because oh, there you go, you can see the explosions there. See, that's what I meant by it's gonna punch through and it's gonna hit terrain. So you can see the explosions back there. We're hitting the initial target, with the grenade damage, but behind him, am I doing it right? Behind him is where the actual explosions are going off. So you can see it in kind of like the background area. Hold on. Let's just, I'm just doing this to prove a point, because some people, or you can shoot the ground too. You can also shoot the ground if you want, but you never know, it might actually pierce through the ground. Regardless, Sabot Rounds, unfortunately, is not my cup of tea for this weapon. But you know what? Listen, my build is my build is my build. Feel free to do whatever the hell you want to do with your setup. Like I said, I just basically use this in standard Arcwing, and I've been using this a lot in just normal missions where I'll call it down, and it's good for crowd clearing in that case. And this setup has been working for standard missions, as well as, you know, in the simulator. Anyway, that's just my feelings on this. Unfortunately, I do have to burn through another, what do you call this, Kuva Lich that has another core attack on it. Damn you! So hopefully I'll be able to clear them out real quick, and I'll be able to get some new weapons for you guys real soon. Regardless, let me know how you feel about all of this down in the comments below, and as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and don't judge me if I sound crazy. It's because I'm fasting, and I'm just drinking water. Look at it, it's clear. It's not even Coke Zero. I can't have Coke Zero today. I'm dying. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Save me.